In this lesson, we'll create a walk animation. So this is our final rig. So I have added a root control, so that will help you to move the character as a whole and rotate the character as a whole, or scale the character as a whole depending on what size you want to have. We'll start the animation by starting with the first pose. So the first pose is going to be, the right leg is going to be in the front and the left leg is going to be in the back. Now, just to avoid accidental selection of this mesh or the joints, we can turn off the filters for surfaces and for joints. So now even accidentally you won't select these other things that is not needed. So I'll select this left leg and move it backwards. Okay, it's better to note down exactly how much we are moving it. So I'll give a value of -5, and I'll move this object the same exact distance forward, so that is value of +5. And I will bring the hip a little bit down. Okay, so I'll give a value of -0.7. okay, and this one we will give a ball roll, so that the leg will be the heel will be lifted up. So let's give 2.7 or 2.8 some value. Okay, and the hands has to come down, so I will rotate the hand. We'll just keep the hand down like so. And considering the legs, if the left leg is in the back, then the left hand is supposed to be rotated forward. Okay, and one more slight rotation for this second joint. And if the right leg is in the front, the right hand has to be in the back. So I'll select this, rotate backwards. So that's our first pose. Doesn't need to be rotated too much. We'll keep it somewhat like that. I'll give an exact value of, let's say, 17 and -75. The same exact values here, -17 and -75. For these also, -22, -15. Okay, so that's good enough. So this is our first pose. Now we have to create a keyframe for this first pose and all these controls that we are animating. So let's start selecting all of them. 1, 2, second leg, hip, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so keeping at the first frame, press S, so that creates keyframe on all these attributes. Just want to make one small difference. I want to bring this legs a little closer. So let's say the value of 1, maybe 1.2, and this one also goes here, -1.2. So that keeps them a little close together. Okay, so that's our first pose. The auto key is on, so that is good enough. So I have a duration of 24 frames. So at frame 24 frames, I want to repeat the same exact pose further. So at frame number 12, that is the halfway, this leg has to go forward and this leg would stay in the same place. So let's push this forward. Okay, and let's push this, for example, from here it is 5 units back and 5 units forward, and this has to go further 10 units. So that would be the distance between these two feet. So here I have it in a value of 5, so I have to push this 15 units forward. So that would be somewhere here. Let's give an exact value, 15. Okay, so I think that's good enough. We'll make this ball roll to be 0, and the hip has to come somewhere in the center, and the back leg will lift up its heel, So that's ball roll. Now this ball roll should not happen from here. As you can see, now we have a keyframe at frame number 1. If I make a ball roll value for this in frame number 12, what will happen is this animation will basically start from frame number 1 through frame number 12. So we don't want that to happen. We want that to actually start from the middle. So what we can do is, for ball roll, we will add one more keyframe at frame number 6, that is key selected, and then at frame number 12 we'll give a value of 2.7, if I remember the same value here. It's 2.7, yes. So as you can see, when it crosses halfway, after that the heel will lift up. We could do this later also, that is not a problem. So this is just the first step. Now as you can see, the left leg is actually sliding through. It should not slide through, it should go lifting up and down. Okay, so we basically created a keyframe for this only in z-axis. Okay, so the y-axis and the other attributes will not have any keyframes at frame number 12. Let's check that if that is true by going to our graph editor. Okay, so as you can see, there's keyframes at frame number 12 only for these two attributes, that is, I think, translate z and ball roll. Okay, so that is the white color and the blue color, and all these other attributes just have one keyframe, that is at frame number 1. Now what I will do is I will have to lift it up at frame number 6 for y-axis, that is, I have to lift up in y-axis. Now notice what happens when I lift it up in y-axis. I will also have to make this ball roll to be 0, and I'll give a rotation, slight rotation here. Okay, now what will happen is it will maintain the same height even at frame number 12. So it doesn't go down at frame number 12 because we don't have a keyframe for translate y at frame number 12. So all we have to do is we have to create the same keyframe here. So that's a value of 0. So let's go to frame translate y at frame number 12 and give a value of 0. And thus I have to also make this rotation to be 0. So that will plant it on the ground. Now we can also give an exact value for this at frame number 6. Since we are lifting it up, I'll give 2.5 and translate z. I think we have to give an exact value of 5. That is the midway actually. And the rotation also I can give an exact value of 35. Translate x is minus 1.2. That's the same value that we gave before. So now let's see. It's lifting up, okay, and then planting on the floor. That's good enough. Now one more little thing we have to do is the hip. The hip has to go up and down. So at frame number 6 it will go up, and at frame number 12 it will come back to the same position. So that is in translate y 0.7. So let's create a keyframe for this here at frame number 12, then go back to 6, and here we have to lift up. I think a value of 0 will do. Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, it goes up and down. That's perfect. Okay, now we just have to continue to do this further. So at frame number 12, from frame number 12 let's move to frame number 24. So at frame number 24, this leg has to start moving from here till here. So this is a value of 5, right? So at frame number 24 it will go another 10 units, so that would be 15. Sorry, that would be from 5. Okay, this is 5 units, so that is 10, and then another 10, so that will be 20. So let's give 20. No, I think I'll have to give 25, not 20. at frame number 24. And then let's further push this forward. Okay, and at frame number 24 this will not have any ball roll. Make the ball roll value to be 0, and let's check the hip position. I think it's almost matching up. Let's give an exact value of 20, and we'll give a ball roll for this starting from frame number 18, that's the middle, set key, and then frame number 24, let's give 2.7. Let's check the playback. Okay, there's some little problems going on. Okay, so this right leg is starting to move from the beginning in Z axis. Okay, let's check the graph editor. Let's check only translate Z. As you can see, the keyframe is actually starting from here, but we don't want it to start from there. We want it to start actually from frame number 12. So all we have to do is, for translate Z, we have to create a keyframe at frame number 12. So let's minimize that for now. Go here at frame number 12, and for translate Z, right click, key selected, and we have to give a value for this, the same value that was here. So that is a value of 5. Let's go there, make it 5. Done. Let's check the graph back again. As you can see, it stays constant till frame number 12, and then it starts to move. Let's minimize that and play back. Okay, that's good enough. So the first step is good. The second step, it is sliding. For that we have to lift it up after frame number 12. At frame number 18, let's lift it up and rotate it down. And we can also check the exact values here for the left leg. Select it. So it's like y-axis it's 2.5 and rotation is 35. So let's go back to 18, 2.5 and 35. Okay, so that should be good enough. Let's play that back now. Okay, as we had the same problem before, this is staying up. We have to bring this down. So at frame number 24, let's make the rotation to be 0 and translate y to be 0. Let's play it back. Okay, that is correct. Okay, I think the hip is moving a little forward faster towards the front. We didn't do the hip up and down for the second step. Okay, then it's moving a little faster here. The other thing that I can do is I can make this translate Z to be constant instead of making it smooth. Here it's increasing 10 units, here it's increasing 20 units. So that's correct. Let me just make it flat, straight, that is linear. Okay, now let me check that out. Okay, I think that's good enough. Let's just adjust the translate Y. Okay, so it's going up to 0 at frame number 18, then goes back to frame number 24. Okay, so let's go take this at frame number 18, lift it up to 0, and then at 24 bring it back to the same value that was there, that's 0.7 minus 0.7. Let's check the graph back again. Okay, so we've got the same exact path. Okay, that's perfect. So the leg is working well. Now we have to animate the hands. Let's start with this right hand. So the first pose and the last pose will be the same. So it goes halfway and then it goes to the full other side, then comes back to the same starting place. So I'll set key here and a set key here. And in the middle, exactly at frame number 12, it will go exactly to the opposite side. So that is minus 17. Let's play that back. Okay, so the hand goes forward and backward. Okay, so let's try the same thing on the next joint. So the first pose and the last pose are the same, but in the exact middle, let's lift it up a bit. Okay, it's going up, so I'll just maintain the same pose. I'm not going to rotate it too much. Maintain the same pose, but here in the middle I will lift it up a bit, because when it comes back down it will have a small, yeah, there you go, small follow through. So there you go. I think it's too much noticeable. Let's make it less, something like minus 30 to make it less noticeable. So okay, let's look at the graph editor and see if we can make it a bit more smoother. I think this is good enough. Maybe I can push this keyframe a little front, and that value is good enough, I think. Minus 15 to 0. Okay. Now we can do the same thing on the other side. So starting from there, last keyframe the same, but in the middle, let's push it backwards to exactly the opposite value. So that's positive 17. Let's check for the next one. So it goes back, then comes forward. So starting from there, it has to come slowly. So I'll push it a little up. Minus 30 is the same exact value that I gave there. And let's move to 14 and push it to 0. And finally it will be the same. Copy, paste that frame here. Let's play that back. Okay, so to make it more interesting, we can do some more animation. Let's say we can twist the head a little bit. So let's say start from there, frame number 12. You can make him turn, look at you, then you can hold the pose for a minute, then goes back. Especially when you rotate in all three axes, you have to be very careful in how you're modifying it. So it's basically turning this side and then continuing to walk.